Right. Well, that wasn't great, was it? Dear me. There are more questions and answers, I suspect, in this Q&A. So please get your questions in. But I'm going to struggle to explain what just happened there. It did feel kind of historically bad, really. Wealdstone's like a decent, traditional non-league team. Please don't get me wrong. But oh, we were poor, weren't we? And I feel that 4-3 flatters us, really, if I'm perfectly honest. So please, if you want to fire in your questions, please go for it, and we'll try to make some sense out of that. We might try and make some sense out of it. I'm not sure we'll be able to get much consolation, in all honesty. So, I don't know. A game that I certainly deserve to lose. There's no question about that. And yet, carved out so many decent chances. It was very frustrating. Yeah. Jamie Sewell saying it proves that Maidenhead wasn't just a slip up. Yeah, this felt a lot worse than Maidenhead to me, if I'm honest with you, because I didn't think Wealdstone looked very good. Maidenhead, I'm not saying they're a great team, absolutely not, but they looked very organised, didn't they? And they didn't sit back in their box. Now, I watched Wealdstone's 5-2 loss against Stockport, and actually they played quite well in that. 17 minutes left, they're beating Stockport. But unlike Maidenhead, they didn't have the sense to push up. They defended in their box like they did at the end against us, and they got punished. So that's a massive, genuine worry. I was quite happy with it at the start of the season. I know we lost at Solihull, but we shouldn't have done. The 2 wins were merited, and the Maidenhead game, the result was dreadful. I thought the performance was not great. I mean, I'm not stupid. It wasn't great, but I could see maybe that it wasn't a total disaster. I felt that maybe we'd be able to, if we took our chances, we'd have won that game. Not a good performance, but a win. But today was just no poor. Um, I'll let's see. These are good ones. I'll take Cookie's best first because the other two are quite similar. A bad performance from the Reds today. I mean, honestly, there's no other way to put it. It was just rotten. Frankly, yeah, one of the things that really annoys me is that when we got to 2-1 up, you think, okay, we were lucky there. It was a dreadful start, but we've got to get our jail free card. And even when they equalised, the rest of that half, we were pushing on, and we were causing problems and making chances. And I was then thinking, okay, we'll be all right here. Bad first half hour, but we're all right now. We're on top of this, and the second half was just appalling, wasn't it? And all right, we could have maybe nicked something out of the game at the end. I thought it was a penalty, the one on Jarvis. I don't know about the disallowed goal. It looked like a foul on the keeper to me. We had some Charmin Kelleher's header. Some of those chances were glorious, but we didn't deserve to get anything out of it. To be perfectly frank, the second half was dreadful, I thought. Now, the reason I did that one first because we got some similar questions. Ryan Sherm Roberts and Joseph Whitney Lang. Well, Joseph saying, do you think Dean is the man to take us forward? And Ryan saying, should there be talks of a new manager? Well, Mr. C saying, as a player, Keats was everything we wanted. As a manager, oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. As a player, Keats was everything we wanted as a manager. As a manager, he's everything we don't want. What's gone wrong? Oh, and also David Hughes here as well. Hi. Oh, thank you for many years of fantastic service. Thank you very much. Lovely of you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Do you think the management team are the right people to take us forward? Right now, okay. I'm a genuine fan of Keats, and I'll explain why in a moment. But I can't deny this has been a very, very, very bad week. A very bad week, and I am confused by it because I really like the look of the squad that's been put together. And I didn't have any massive issue with how we set ourselves up today, although, I don't know, maybe at the end, I looked a little confused, switching to a diamond, but then we started to put pressure on. I'm hoping that what we need here is fine-tuning. I'm also hoping, I was wondering last night, actually, that when we play Solihull in the Cup, we've got a big squad. I thought we'd rotate a bit more against Maidenhead, and we didn't. I wonder if the FA Cup will be the game where we rotate a bit. I was wondering this beforehand. Um, and frankly, after today, I'm now thinking, well, it could be very interesting. It might be a rotation, but it might turn into something different because players will have a chance maybe to show that they're doing a better job and actually claim a place. I do have faith in Keats. The reason why I think he's got a good hit rate in the transfer market. We can't judge the squad just yet. On paper, to me, it looks good. Although on the pitch, it didn't today. Also, I would say, I think it's natural that we all fit things into certain patterns. But last season, I was working out. It's quite surprising actually. Points per game. Um, Under Hughes, I think I said this in a previous podcast a couple of weeks ago. Under Hughes, points per game. If that had carried on to the end of the season, we'd have come bottom of the league. We'd have come below Chorley. Keats averaged roughly 2 points a game. It was whereas Hughes averaged one. So under Keats, we'd have been fringes of the playoffs. So our form was good. There was a stat I put on Wrexham Anorak last weekend. There was something like, we kept something daft, like 7 out of 10 clean sheets in away games, something like that. We were heading in the right direction. So I don't want to panic just yet. I tend to be somebody who doesn't immediately say massive change. I must say as well, I don't think there's any possibility of managerial change. I don't think there should be, but I don't think there will be. While there's a possibility of a change of ownership, you really, unless the deal was an inevitability, I don't think that the trust would attempt to second guess the owners. So I don't think that would happen, to be honest. Aaron Davis saying we need changes bad. Well, I think that's very. The key thing here is that we've got a big squad, haven't we? So, transfer window, unfortunately, we're still subject to. But we've got a lot of players who haven't had much pitch time. I rate Jarvis, for example. He had his moments. When we went to the Diamond, I thought he had his moments. Got involved in the game, started creating a little bit. And the likes of Carrington and Horsefield, and we saw what Horsefield was like last season, haven't had an opportunity, really. So there are interesting players in the squad who haven't had that much of an opportunity. So, like I say, Solihull might be interesting to see how it all changes it around. Now, CG saying, why were there no substitutions? A truly dreadful performance, so tough to watch. Astonishing lack of players who can put their foot on the ball and play. Yeah, well, addressing the second part of that, yeah. There was a real lack of control. Like I said, if you didn't hear me at the start, I think Wealdstone were very poor. And yet we allowed it to be a game. Well, I mean, I don't want to sound daft because I know we're a non-league team, but a non-league match where it was all just scrapping around for different things. And yeah, we had nobody imposing themselves. Harris had his moments, Young had his moments. I just wondered, we played 3 in midfield in the previous games. Is that maybe not the worst idea? We'd have more control of that game. But then on Saturday, Monday, we didn't score goals. So I understand the desire now that Yusuf's fit to open the game out, to be honest. So I don't know. That's why no substitutions. Well, yeah, I was wondering that a little bit. We only brought on one because of an injury. I'm assuming Ponticelli and Bickerstaff are both still injured. And so we had 2 strikers and none on the bench. And it's a shame when we've got good depth that actually we're getting injuries in the same position. I noticed Yusuf was limping heavily after his second goal, so let's hope he's okay. So I suppose we didn't have a sort of game-changing attacking sub we could bring on. Having said that, Jordan Davis has got a really good left foot. You could stick him wide, he could put good quality in the box. To Thomas, I thought, when we went more direct near the end, and this is a pattern with Thomas, he looks a lot more happy. He wins a lot of headers against centre-backs, and just wondered if we needed to give more of that. He set up Kelleher's chance, didn't he, with a header, and causes problems in the balls in the air. So yeah, I thought Jordan Davis possibly. I know we had record anyway, but we'd lost Rutherford, who was playing more as a player getting into the area, getting crosses in, and replaced him with Jarvis, who I like, but he's not that type of player. So I wondered whether Davis ahead of record might have been something to go for. We would have subs. Horsefield would, unless you're releasing Kelleher to go forwards. And there was another sub. Let me double check who it was. Sorry, my mind's gone completely blank. But yeah, I mean, I think that performance was so bad. You sort of think changes would be made. You kind of anticipate that, don't you? Um, I don't know. I'll just find the match report because I just typed it. So if I was wrong, it's my fault. Don't blame anyone else. Um, well, of course, Devontae Redmond, who, I mean, he shaped up pretty well in pre-season, and I'd have thought, yeah, again, another player might have been interesting in the diamond. Anyway, yeah, I found it slightly surprising that. There's some Hugo Matthews score prediction for next weekend. God knows what the team will pick. Teams bounce back sometimes from this sort of thing. Sometimes it's I remember playing years ago, playing Chesterfield, managed by Roy McFarland, who's a proper old school aggressive manager, and he Chesterfield lost 7-0, and I was horrified. I was scared of that game because I knew McFarland had them in all week, making them suffer, and they beat us. I think Sean Dyche might have scored for them now I think about it. But yeah, hope maybe we'll have a reaction to it. Also, I think we may change things around quite a bit, obviously. Maybe we wouldn't anyway because of the cup, but I think we definitely will now. Some comments here who are looking for change. Jamie Sewell says, get all three of them gone, Keats, Darlow and Davis, gone before it's too late. In my opinion, we have the squad that could push for promotion, but the management or tactics just aren't there. I've addressed that already, but yeah. Ryan Chern-Roberts, who asked about that, saying Keats out, and Jonah Jones saying it's painful to watch with Keats in charge. Hopefully the new owners bring in somebody new. Hugo, any chance? So again, I've addressed that really. I talked about the ownership issue affecting the managerial position as well. Hugo Matthews in any chance of a change in the defence before next week? Well, I mean, that's a good question, isn't it? I mean, the fullbacks have looked good this season, although Hall Johnson was done for the first goal, wasn't he? But Lewis, you know what? Hang on, let me restart this. My big concern about these goals we're letting in is the set pieces. So we've let in 7 this season, 4 from corners. We've got to do something about that. No two ways about it. I was strange, and I think it was the Oval game. Their commentator was saying on the stream about how we were a very big team. I don't think we are. Kelleher's massive. Thomas is big. I don't think we are particularly. Vassell's sort of average size for a centre back. Record's big, and so is Hall John. Oh, maybe I was talking myself out of this a little bit. But there's something wrong there, and usually that sort of thing is structural, isn't it? And are you going man to man when you should be going zonal? So they'll have to have a look at that. I've not had a close look at it, but I think I will do. I know we've gone man to man. Well, it's a hybrid of man to man and zonal. And Jordan Davis put his hand up to take the blame for the Solihull goal for losing his man. As for changing the defence in general, that's an interesting question. I mean, the full-backs, I think most people would say, done well. So that was the point I was going to make before. Of the 4 goals we let in today, 2 of them are the set pieces. That bothers me. Lewis did Hall Johnson. He's too quick for him. And Kelleher was drawn across as well, so he was too quick for him as well on the cover. That's not good, and Hall Johnson, I'm sure, will be upset because his job is to stop crosses coming in. But that happens. Wingers do beat fullbacks sometimes, so not happy about it, but it happened. The second goal was just a worldie, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think there's anything anybody could do about that, except, well, actually, I did, watching at the time, I did trace it back. I thought we were a little bit deep in midfield, and we did that a few times, and I was a little surprised at us. And I thought that was maybe a structural issue, maybe from being 4-4-2 rather than 4-3-3. And also Rutherford, if you look back at the start of that goal, Rutherford covers back really well, covers Record, but then just flicks it up the line and gives the ball away, and that ends in the ball being switched across to Mendy when Record had dropped off for him. He dropped off at the goal line to give Rutherford an easy layoff so Record could just clear down the line. And it was surprising because Rutherford's I think an intelligent player, but he just didn't look to do that. At the time, I was worried because Record, by doing that, I don't think Record was right to do that, was going to obviously play everyone onside as he got up 20 yards to the defensive line. It wasn't that. It was just that Rutherford gave the ball away too cheaply, and they transferred it across and scored. But yeah, so the defence is more the set piece defending that bothers me. I'd argue Kelleher and Vassell have done well this season. The Maidenhead game, they looked a little more shaky. And the fullbacks, I think most people have been very pleased with. And Pearson, I'm not quite sure what the situation is with Pearson in terms of fitness. And Cleworth, I don't think you throw him into a situation like this. Maybe you would if it's the FA Cup and you're rotating anyway. I don't know. So in answer to your question, I'm not sure. Yeah, Hugo Matthews also saying Jarvis should have started the way he played last season. Yeah, I really like Jarvis. I got a huge amount of respect for him. I think he's a good player. I think I assume he'd get his opportunity now. Mr. C says, looking at results as potential new owners, would you be happy handing over a substantial amount of money to the current management team? Not really looking good at the moment. I don't. Well, I'd argue, although this season might turn out not as I thought and prove me wrong. I'd argue he's got a good strike rate of signings. He brought in good players when he stopped us getting relegated the first time. He built a good squad then after that. Last season, he definitely improved the squad, and he brought in, well, on paper, to me, looks like a very strong squad this time. So, if you'd asked me last weekend, I'd have said, not a question about it, not a question. But, I don't know. Yeah, I accept that as an investor looking from outside, you're also a fresh pair of eyes, so I understand that logic. Jason Hughes saying Keats should go full stop. Rot rubbish losing to bottom clubs again. It's been a shocking week. Aaron Davis, do you think the new buyers will pull out now? I don't think this would make any difference. I think that they're fully aware they are looking to invest in a 5th division team. My understanding is they talk about more long-term projects. Obviously, if you invest in a 5th division team, you've got to be looking at a long-term project. So I don't think that results make a blind bit of difference, to be honest. I think that deal will go ahead or not go ahead depending on whether they can strike the right deal with the trust. I don't think there's anything else to it. You take over a club and then you impose your vision on it. So if it's not working beforehand, I don't think that would put you off, if you see what I mean. Although looking back to Mr. C's point about, was it Mr. C? Yeah, about handing money over, of course, is that, like I said, that the transfer window restricts us. So we may have, can you change it much before January? No matter how much money you might have in your back pocket. Robbie Weston, also saying with Keats, getting gone before we end up scrapping for our place in this league for a second season on the trot. We got through on the can I say that? The bones of our bottoms last season. This season we won't be so lucky. I'd be surprised if we get drawn into that, but I don't know. Hugo Matthews saying about the cup run can just go now. Forget the FA Cup. Well, our team selection might have been intended to that, but like I said earlier, it might be interesting to see how, if we do rotate, how fringe players do. Whether they are able to say, I'll make a claim here for a team. Hugo Matthews missing a proper leader, though it's not healthy for the team. Yeah, Harris is a leader, wouldn't you say? I don't know. We were lacking a central midfielder against their 3. They played Bengu in the whole every game except the Stockport game, and then so they were playing 4-2-3-1, and then they played him deeper against Stockport, and I don't know whether him dropping off a bit in this game and making the extra man in midfield made a difference, but Young and Harris, I don't know, it just felt like I said earlier, maybe having Davis in as a holding midfielder or Horsfield would have been a good idea. We were a bit short on numbers. But Harris is there partly because he'll stop teams coming through us. So, yeah, it was, I don't know. Simon Cook, I agree that Keats needs to go before we're in a relegation battle. Problem is who will come in if the new owners have a manager in mind. Maybe a player, Pearson, as a caretaker. Yeah, I'd have thought. Right, I'll say straight out, I'm not comfortable in way of speculating about this simply because I don't think Keats should go. Now, I'll put that on the record. Let's take that as a hypothetical situation. I think we're a very attractive job to managers at the moment because if that takeover takes place, we're going to be a club in a lower division than we should be, so clearly we've got potential to get promoted, and we'll have money to spend. I think we'd be a very attractive option to managers. So I don't think the concern of who would come in is an issue. My gut feeling is I'd want. I think it'd be premature to get rid of Keats. But then, like I said, I've always been a Keats loyalist, so that's going to be my starting position. CG's making an interesting counterpoint to me, saying that's the point. Keats recruits well, no one can argue with that. How many players has he coached and improved? So, okay. I think, oh God, I was going to have to sit and think about this now, aren't I? Yeah, fair point. And it's about utilisation of players and shape, I think, as well. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, my heart says last season, like I said, that the stats were much better under Keats than Hughes. The points per game were much, much better. We did have some good performances. And the season when he left, well, the first season he came in, he did save us. And then the second season, I think if he'd stayed, we would have been in the playoffs. So I personally don't see the balance sheet as quite so negative for him myself, but this week's been dreadful. Yeah, this week's a disaster. Danny Dyer says Keats needs to go. Good to hear from you again, Danny. Danny was the star of last season. Hugo Matthews, do you think it might have made a difference if we kept Mike Fondop? Or now that's such an interesting question, isn't it? I like that question, but with a name different. I don't think Fondop would have made a difference personally. I think he was a bit of a bull in the china shop. I don't personally see him as a player who's going to make a huge difference to a team. Personally, he'll have his little spells of scoring, but not consistently. We've had other players who would have done a good job. I think it might have looked different if Davis Keeler-Dunn had signed the contract that he looked like he was going to sign. There have other players that we've had. Quigley, for example. I was joking last week about how there's Wrexham players at the top of the scoring charts, and it was JJ Hooper last time, and it's John Rooney now. So, yeah, but I mean that's what happens in football, isn't it? I suppose you get players who are good, but if the system around them is not right or the club isn't doing well, then yeah, you don't get the best out of them. I was looking the season after we had Dan Holman. Kevin Wilkins, a classic example of a player, brought good players, manager who brought good players in, but then didn't use them well. When we had Dan Holman, he didn't start a game. He's just getting like 5-10 minutes at the end of games and that. And then the next season, he scored 30 goals and went up. So, we've got a history, haven't we, of players, what-if players, who if he'd held on to might have made a difference. Absolutely. Simon Coxon, what's wrong with Redmond? He's the type of player who could have changed things. He said nothing, though. He doesn't have a plan B. I mean, I think the problem for Edmonds is that last season he didn't really perform as we'd have hoped. But I would have thought we might have thrown him on to see if we could do something today as well. I don't know about not having a plan B. I mean, he changed the shape quite sort of drastically after about 20 minutes left, and we did then start putting pressure on. But having said that, yeah, we still lost a bad game to a poor team. Where else are we? Mr. C, when I was playing, if I or the team had a bad game, I'd be gutted. The team didn't seem too bothered. Gotta love the club, play for the badge and the fans. Is that? I'm going to disagree. Is that fair that they battled away? They kept going. The last 20, we were pushing them all back. They were pushing Wealdstone back. The quality wasn't there. Totally agree with that. I don't think you could question the heart. Just didn't play well, Well, Danny Dyer is talking about sausage butties, and I think I might have to go for my tea in a second. But Mr. C then saying the trouble is we don't learn. Bring in good strikers, don't use them. Get rid of them. They're on fire with new clubs. Yeah, that's happened for a while, hasn't it, really? I've been writing a long read piece, which I was supposed to put up yesterday, but I kept finding more and more stats I want to put in for the website I'm going to put on Monday. And it's looking at sort of 20-goal strikers. Do you need them to go up? And one of the stark things that struck me is like the last player we had who got into double figures in the league was Holroyd of 13. and this problem's going back quite a bit. So I'm not quite sure why, but we just don't seem endemically to score goals. You and Alice saying, what's wrong with Ponticelli? I think I've got nothing official. I've got to assume he had a knock because surely he'd at least be on the bench today, wouldn't he? With no strikers on the bench. Um, Peter Higgins saying, I don't think Redmond would have made any difference if there was no clear leadership on the pitch. He's not big enough of an impact player. Yeah, yeah. And as well as say, he's got to learn Keats' trust a bit. I think. Yeah, he's got the ability to play a pass, hasn't he? He's got the ability to make something happen. Um, but yeah, just him on his own. Except Joseph Whitney Lang, are you? Oh no. Oh, my eyesight's awful. Does that say Indie Wales? Are you asking me about Welsh independence? If you're asking me, should we go in the League of Wales? Oh, then we got an issue. You were saying, why no mention of squad news, injuries, etc. in the pre-match feature on the website? I write the preview, so I'll tell you dead straight. Keats keeps the cards very close to his chest in terms of injuries, because he doesn't want the opposition to know if there is anybody missing or not. So because of that, we don't tend to have that information. We've done this as well with signings. You remember Alex Reid when he signed for us? It wasn't announced publicly to shock Gateshead because they couldn't check who he is or do a quick sort of check on who he was. He was signed that day, but they didn't announce it until the team sheet came out. And you might argue it worked, and he scored the only goal. So don't tend to be privy to that, to be honest with you. Jack Bennett says, people who give the team stick, give them time to gel together. I think that's a fair comment. And I won't pull it up now. Our promotion seasons have tended to start very badly. I remember the last promotion season we lost at home 5-2 to Rochdale. People calling for Dennis Smith's head. We'd just been relegated under him, of course. We started very badly in that 77-78 season. And my recollection of the 92-3 season is that we didn't really get going until we got hammered 6-1 by Crewe in the FA Cup, which was a good chunk into the season. So, yeah, I mean, that is the way I look at it, if I'm honest. We can't panic just yet. I think we were happy with how the squad was put together. And we've got to, I think, let it gel, see how it goes. But the last two games are a real concern. Let's see what else is there. Simon Cookery, Redmond, I think he's the type of player who can score from nothing if given the chance, but he's not given the chance. I think the problem was last season he didn't earn the chance, did he? I think he's going to have to really earn Keats' trust. But having said that, yeah, he is a player who can score a goal, make a pass, make a cross. So yeah. Hugo. All I'm saying is, can we actually have an interview with a keeper and get Robbo's thoughts on... Oh, Rob Lainton. He doesn't do media. He doesn't like doing media. So, yeah, it's... we have asked. And there was something else up there. Oh, Simon Cook said, I've never been a fan to want to coach out. I think consistency is key. Although after a week like we've had, surely he's got to be skating on thin ice. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. You can't lose games like this and feel secure, and I know he won't do. And I know he'll be deeply unhappy. But yeah, I think we've got to give it a bit more of a chance. Oh yes, Ewan was saying, that's the one I saw. He was asking about the previews, and he said there's a fan-owned club, but communication regarding injuries is poor. Well, I suppose the counter-argument to that, which I understand what you're saying, but the counter-argument to that would be if Keats feels there's an advantage to be had by not broadcasting team news, then it theoretically can help the club. So, yeah, so basically I think that's the reason why, and I can live with that personally if that is the reason, if it helps the club, I'm okay with it. It's quite interesting, like the communication issue with a fan-owned club. I think a lot of people think, okay, because it's fan-owned, everything's got to be transparent, budgets are going to be published and things like that. I'd argue that puts us at a disadvantage. I don't want our competitor teams to know how much money we've got, because then they'll charge more for their players. I remember when Ebbsfleet were run by the fans, and there was thought that they'd do things like vote for team selection, but that went by the by because it wasn't really. You do give away a lot of your advantage over other clubs if you really advertise everything that you're doing. And Hugo Matthews, something about Linton. Thought he might not. He's only had one interview since he's been in. He doesn't like doing media. That's that. I'm afraid. So we mustn't hold our breath for the next interview. I don't think. I'm going to try and get him on Dragonheart. What do you reckon? I'm going to try. Right, I better scarper. Well, one last. Joseph Whitley Lang, do you think Spencer Harris will remain when the takeover happens? Honestly, no idea. This is why the media team have not been really commenting on the takeover, because we don't want people to think that we've got an inside line and inside knowledge. I've said about possibly not changing a manager, but I'm just saying that as a generic move. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know what their plan is for the day-to-day running of the club. So I don't know. Anyway, I better go and have that food. It's a horrible game, horrible day, horrible week. But we're Wrexham fans, so we keep going. We keep ploughing on. So I'll speak to you next Saturday, no doubt. Let's hope that we've got better news then. See you, chaps.